Hi, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media, all of our channels and networks. I'm Mike Morales here in wet and soggy Southern California. It smells like a wet dog outside, man. That gentleman out there is.
I'm Eric Zandona in Florida's Emerald Coast.
And there's no wetness, no snow in Florida right now in the Panhandle, but
Nope. Nice and dry.
nice and dry. But there is tequila.
Oh,
And
yes.
we are tasting and trying to discern. Oh, it looks great on your camera.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Casa Reserva de la Torre. That is a mouthful. You can learn to trill your R's, folks, when you see this.
That's right.
This is the reposado, and it comes in this frosted black bottle. Um,
There we go.
you know what? I didn't look at the back and see it is. I want to see if is there a story or is this just the warning on the back?
No health warning, producer and importer.
Oh,
That's
that's
it.
it.
Yeah.
Vinicola Jalisciense is the
And
distillery. Highlands,
Hecho en Mexico.
yes. Highlands Importers in Aurora, Colorado. Wow, no kidding. Uh, and the nome is 1625, which is it is Vinicola Jalisciense. That's the distillery. And it's a very tiny distillery, apparently, because there's only four brands coming out of there, and I've never heard of any.
Yeah.
So it must be Mexico only, except for this one. Uh,
Yeah.
we're just gonna pour the juice, and if you haven't seen the Blanco review, you should go back and check it out. The Blanco is I, I said it. I said it's a throwback tequila to when the pricing was
Yeah.
just just tequila, and you knew what you were getting. I'm gonna use a Glencairn for this one, and wow, look how dark it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of
Got a nice
surprising because you don't see it on the in the bottle, obviously, because it's black. Yeah,
yeah.
the stopper's got a little metal faceplate on it with the coat of arms. I wish I knew what the story was. I'm sure
Yeah.
that there's some sort of pedigree and there's a reason for the a rhyme for the reason, right?
Yeah.
Reason for the rhyme. Um, but it's not uncommon that we don't get information from people that submit to us. So we're just going to go with our taste buds.
Mm-hmm. It's got nice legs to it.
Yes. Well, the Blanco did too, actually, and
Mm-hmm.
spent a lot of time on the legs and tears on the Blanco. But this is nice, very nice. I'm using a branded Glencairn. Uh, excuse the branding, but Oh, hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a little bit of sweetness at the bottom of the glass.
Mm-hmm.
Minimal alcohol again, just
Yeah.
just enough to do the job.
Yeah. So to me, I get a kind of toasted coconut
Yes,
aroma.
yes.
It kind of reminds me almost of like what's the one with coconut? Almond Joy has nuts, Mounds doesn't.
Oh, Miles
Yeah,
does it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's what. Sorry. Yeah, it reminds me almost of that like that kind of toasted coconut. It's nice. There's a faint hint of
But there's
vanilla.
also some nuts in there too. There's
Yeah,
it's got the some of the almond joy got in there.
yeah. I mean, it's like almost
Like a
more
toasted
maybe
almond.
like yeah, toasted almond or walnut.
Oh, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, yeah.
Because the last one was the Blanco was very oily, had to it, and so it has this almost like walnut oil kind of thing going on, the toasted coconut and a little bit of hint of that vanilla from the barrel, but also cooked agave. So
Yeah,
really nice.
there's a faint sweetness on the nose. It's not very
Yeah,
prominent, but it's there. And I like this because it's much more complex than the Blanco was. The Blanco was pretty
yeah,
straightforward,
yeah.
not not multi-dimensional, but then this layer of
Right.
barrel really adds a lot to the flavor profile, to the aroma.
Yeah. So this repo apparently was aged for 6 months and used American oak barrels, so presumably ex-bourbon. But
You would say
you
bourbon?
ready? it doesn't specify, but generally that's what's available.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, let's dive in. Here we go.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's got a pleasant aftertaste.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That there was a whole journey there that I really liked. Um, it starts off, I would say, much more on the kind of like sweeter end of
Hmm.
the flavors, more of that barrel character, more of that cooked agave. But the finish to me is very reminiscent of the Blanco. Lots of those like lemon oils and just a slight heat from it. It's not burned from the alcohol. It's not,
No,
uh,
the
but
lip and gum numbness was there in the Blanco, and now it's kind of turned a little bit like a cinnamony,
yeah,
and
I like it. It's
not
nice.
even a heavy cinnamon. It's just it's a light
Hmm.
cinnamon, not super spicy, not red hot cinnamon.
Yeah,
Mm, mm,
it's a
mm,
real journey.
mm, mm. Sorry, folks. The
Yeah.
spit bucket is your friend. Um, there's a sweetness on the palate, um, but it leans more toward the citrusy, and I keep trying to not make comparisons to the previous tequila that we had,
Right.
which lean more toward the tropical fruit.
Right.
This one does stay where it started on the citrus
Yeah.
side of things. Um, but but it finishes a little bit dry. I think you're right. I think this is a bourbon, not a whiskey barrel, not a
Yeah. Yeah.
not a Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah. You get some the dryness is not very intense. It has this kind of lightness like you would get from like almond skins, when you're eating
Oh,
like roasted almonds.
yeah, yeah.
Um, just that kind of like light dryness that you get on the palate. So
It's very
anyway,
pleasant. It's
yeah, yeah,
it's again, it's a solid tequila.
yeah. Hmm.
And it really harkens back to old school, Eric. I don't know if you'll agree with me.
Yeah,
It really,
yeah,
it is in a much simpler time. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, for sure.
because you mentioned that when El Jimador was pre-diffuser, and it's like it
Yeah.
brought back all kinds of memories because I remember that
Hmm.
quality of El Jimador.
Yeah.
It's not like it is now. That stuff's like water, it's not a
Well, and
shadow of what it.
acrid, yeah,
Yeah,
too. It's
yeah, it's not a shadow of what it was. I wouldn't even age it in their own Jack Daniel's barrels,
yeah,
the way they used to.
yeah.
Um, You know, it's been so long since I've had the El Jimador Añejo aged in that Jack Daniel's barrel. If I ever find a tequila that's even similar, I would buy it all because man, that was a sought after bottle of Añejo. It
Yeah.
was an Añejo. It wasn't even an extra Añejo, but it was so cool because it came with a metal faceplate. I know I've got an empty one somewhere in storage because those you can't find those anymore.
Right.
Brown Foreman everything. They Brown Foreman the
Yeah, yeah.
bottle, and Herradura the bottle was classic. The hand feel was classic. It was just like I say, it
Hmm.
was a much simpler time. Uh,
Yeah. But you're right. This is to me, this is like a throwback to like a very like straightforward reposado. It's the quality is there. It's got good character. It's just, you know, and it's $50 and which is not a crazy price for the for
no,
what it is, for the quality. It's actually really nice. So
yeah,
yeah, I
there
would
we go.
say brand
Brandon
upon us.
Bonnie.
Yeah.
This is a solid tequila. It's a dark horse, and it really is one that deserves a lot more attention than. I wish they had more information. I
Yeah.
really do because I would love to know, more about their process, why the coat of arms. Um, I was telling Eric off camera, these are really old school bottles too. I think the type of bottle. Well, see, all three of these have different knobs. They all have different
Yeah.
uh and this one the original Blanco reminded me of Espolon. The original Espolon looked like that.
Oh,
And
uh-huh.
they had that foil plate. Remember the foil labels? Oh man, if you can find that
Yeah.
old juice, woo, hoard it. It's this is the kind of stuff that brings me back to these memories where you think tequila will never change, right? You're young,
Right.
not going to go buy a bunch of these because it's the collectors that hoard these things in their vault. And then you see pictures now, 20, 30 years later, and they're emptying bottles of old school foil label Espolon, and you're crying because
Yeah.
you don't see those anymore. They're
No.
just, they're just not available anymore unless there's a mom and pop somewhere on the panhandle that's got a bottle of it left in Alabama. You got to blow the
Yeah.
dust off of it and go, "Hey, I'll take it off your hands for like $10."
You'd be surprised. I mean, a friend of mine who helps me with the ADI competition, when he comes into San Francisco, almost every year he finds like a bottle of gin on the shelf in some random liquor store from the 1970s. And it's just been
Oh,
sitting there, you know? And it's just
oh
like,
man.
so there, those things are out there. The dusty kind of hunting market for bourbon is pretty well, established. Lots of people look for old bottles of whiskey, but I
Happy Gin.
haven't actually heard of people looking for old bottles of tequila. That's definitely something to keep an eye out for.
Oh,
You,
well, because of my circles in social media, there's a
yeah.
lot, there's a lot of them, treasuring all
Okay.
the bottles. Yeah, so I mean, these are the same people that complain about Fortaleza becoming the new Pappy Van Winkle, where
Right.
the
Right.
price has been, artificially pumped up, and people are selling these bottles for, for
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars, like it was Pappy.
Yeah.
And we know the quality hasn't changed and we know how they make it.
Right.
So, and it's a small distillery and they're working 24/7. So they can't produce as much as they'd like. And they're doing kind of neat things with, winter blend, and they're doing stuff with them,
Mm-hmm.
but it's all Taona. So, and I think that's the charm of that particular tequila is it's still made that old-fashioned way. So that's why
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about this one because who knows, man, this could
Yeah.
be the next Fortaleza. Uh,
Yeah.
but a great price point, brand of promise nominee is the Reserva de la Torre Tequila Reposado. You
Mm-hmm.
folks have had it. Tell us where you're getting it, what you're doing with it. I think it's an excellent sipper. I think you
Yeah.
can pair it with food, but I think it's bold enough, Eric. Maybe you'll agree with me. I think it's bold enough to either pair with a cigar, uh, probably with food. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, this would go great with an Italian dinner, honestly.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
You
I
know,
agree.
uh, uh, and of course in cocktails, the Blanco is very very cocktail forward. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm impressed. I wish I knew more.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's our take on the Casa Reserva de la Torre Reposado. Don't you like the way I say that?
Oh, yes.
Rich Corinthian leather. Um, I don't sound like Ricardo Montalban or Fernando. You look marvelous, Fernando Lamas. I'm sorry, I'm dating myself here. Um, but that's our take. If you folks have had it, let us know what you're doing with it. Leave us a comment. Leave us an emoji. Go ahead, leave it. I dare you. A drinks emoji. But whatever you do, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share this with people that you know are nerds like us or
Yeah.
just getting into tequila. You know what? This would be great tequila if you're just getting into it
Agreed.
because it's not offensive, it's not over the top, it's not a still strength. But if you want to know what it was like back in the day, I think this is
Yeah.
a really good example. Even the
Mm-hmm.
look of the bottle is a good
Yeah.
example of how guys like me started, guys like Eric, and Eric has a way wider palate than I do. But anyway, share this review, and tell us what you're doing with it. I'm Mike Morales here in Southern California. That gentleman out there is.
Eric Zandona on Florida's Emerald Coast.
You've been watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media, all of our channels and networks. Don't forget to subscribe, and whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.